I want to remind you that pivoting your small business doesn't mean throwing out all of your hard work and starting from scratch. To pivot successfully, you need to make small, strategic adjustments based on data, your customers' needs, and the life and business you want to have to yield the desired results. Hey there, you're listening to the Priority Pursuit Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping small business owners and leaders define, maintain, and pursue both their personal and business priorities so they can build lives and businesses that they love. I'm your host, Victoria Rayburn, and guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am pretty sure that I just photographed my very last wedding ever. I am officially closing Victoria Rayburn Photography to partner with Treefrog and serve other small business owners and leaders full time. Now, this might come as a shock to some of you, but this has actually been in the works since December 2022. If you aren't familiar with my story, I actually used to be Treefrog's content director. While working at this incredible agency back in 2015, I started my photography business just as a side hustle, simply to have a creative outlet. And then without really thinking about it, I implemented the flywheel marketing method, which, as we've discussed in past episodes, is the most effective marketing strategy for small businesses. And I quickly ended up with more business than I knew what to do with. As a result, in 2018, I decided to become a full-time wedding photographer and marketing coach for other photographers. While I love the photography industry, I am convinced there just isn't another community like it. And I've had the privilege of photographing hundreds of weddings for the most amazing couples. About a year ago, I realized that wedding photography just wasn't going to give me the life that I wanted long term. Yes, I was making good money. Yes, I enjoyed my work. And yes, I had no problem filling my calendar and meeting my booking goals. But in all honesty, after watching my marriage suffer as a result of my work schedule, after losing my dad, and then having to photograph a wedding just 3 days later, and then having to arrange his memorial around my wedding schedule, and just as I started to think about what I wanted life to look like moving forward, I came to the conclusion that wedding photography wasn't going to allow me to live the way that I wanted to live. I had all the systems and protocols in place, and my business was arguably operating as efficiently as a photography business possibly could. But my life literally revolved around other people's love stories and lives while I was putting mine on the back burner. In other words, my dream just didn't give me the reality that I wanted. It didn't give me a reality that I loved. Now, at this point, I was already offering marketing and SEO coaching for other photographers, speaking at conferences, and the Priority Pursuit podcast had been up and running for about a year and a half. So in other words, I was already generating income from coaching and education. And if I'm honest, I loved this part of my job more than being behind the camera. As a result, I made a 3-year plan to slowly pull out of weddings and transition entirely into coaching, educating, and consulting. Now, just based on numbers, I thought it would take 3 years before I could officially stop shooting weddings. But as it turns out, God had other plans. You see, literally a week or two after writing down my plan, I met Kelly for coffee. And now, in case this is your very first episode of Priority Pursuit, Kelly Rice is Treefrog Marketing's founder and chief strategist and Priority Pursuit's co-host. You're just hanging out with just me today, though. And when I decided to leave Treefrog and be a full-time small business owner, I really think it's safe to say that nobody rooted for me more than Kelly did. And over the years, we have kept in constant contact and met up regularly to talk about business, life, faith, and more. Basically, Kelly has been the biggest blessing of a mentor and friend to me. So during this particular coffee date in December 2022, I spilled my guts to Kelly and explained my business plan. But what I did not expect Kelly to say was, why don't you partner with Treefrog and do exactly that now? Long story short, Treefrog needed someone on their team to focus on the education side of the business, while the rest of the team focused on serving clients. Kelly more or less offered me a position on the spot, and the next week, we got together again to decide what this partnership would look like. Over the last year, I've been fulfilling the weddings and sessions I already had booked for 2023 while working with the Treefrog team to serve small businesses. Treefrog absorbed the podcast, and all of my coaching and other services now fall under the Treefrog umbrella, which has allowed me to serve small businesses better than I ever could on my own. I know God's hand was clearly in each and every step of this transition, especially considering we are now expecting a baby in December. That was a surprise that we did not see coming. And I know that I'm not the only small business owner who's had a vision for their business only to realize the dream wasn't so dreamy or that the business plan didn't go as planned. So in case you can relate, in this episode of Priority Pursuit, I want to discuss when and how to pivot your small business. Okay, so first of all, what do we mean by pivot? For the record, I'm going to refrain from shouting pivot like Ross in that episode of Friends where we see memes of this all the time where they move the couch, even though I do kind of want to, but anyway, I digress. You might be listening and thinking that pivoting in business means that you have to change your business entirely. But guys, that just isn't the case. Pivoting is simply making strategic adjustments to yield the desired results. We will talk about ways you can pivot your small business, but first, I want to talk about signs it's time to pivot your small business, specifically 7 different signs. Okay, so first of all, this is the Priority Pursuit podcast, and as our regular listeners know, this show is all about building a life and business that you love. So the first sign that it's likely time to pivot your small business is that your business is no longer allowing you to live a life you love. Maybe your business requires your constant attention. Perhaps you're working nights and weekends. Maybe your relationships, health, or general well-being are suffering because of your business. If so, it's likely time to pivot. So don't get me wrong, there are going to be seasons in running a small business where you likely have to put your head down and, in all honesty, work harder than a lot of people. But if your small business is constantly taking a toll on your personal life, changes need to be made. Now, for the record, only you can decide what you want your life to look like. You might want to consult your spouse or your closest loved ones, but everyone's ideal work situation is going to look very different. So, for example, the wedding photography schedule doesn't work for me largely because my husband is a contractor who works an 8 to 5 job Monday through Friday. When I was shooting weddings most Saturdays and other sessions on weeknights, because that's when the light is best at sunset, and that's when people are off work, we were like passing ships. Basically, I was always working when Zach was off. However, I have wedding photographer friends whose lives are able to thrive because of this schedule. For some, being a wedding photographer allows them to homeschool their kids, work with their spouses, travel, and truly live like a life that they enjoy. So working nights and weekends offers freedom for some, but for others, including myself, it brought a lot of restrictions. So long story short, if your small business isn't working for your life, it's time to pivot. Another reason to pivot your small business is if your business can't serve your team well. Perhaps you need your employees to work and be available around the clock. Maybe you aren't able to pay them livable wages or the salaries that they deserve. Perhaps your current business model doesn't support benefits or professional development. Maybe you have a really high turnover rate. As important as it is for you to build a business that works well for your life, it's just as important for your business to be able to support your team. If you aren't currently able to pay your team well or show them that they're valued and appreciated, something about your business needs to change, and it's likely time to pivot. Okay, so we focused on some personal reasons to pivot first. Now I want to get into more of the business side of things. So one reason to pivot as soon as possible is if your customers' needs change. So for example, their needs could change because of new technology or tools, changes in people's knowledge, changes in priorities, or literally countless other reasons. So for example, during COVID, dine-in restaurants had to pivot pretty drastically if they wanted to survive. And many of those that did figured out delivery and takeout options so they could meet their customers' needs. Hopefully, knock on wood, we don't encounter another pandemic anytime soon, but the world is constantly changing. And as a result, it's important to make sure your products and services meet your customers' needs. And guys, I want to encourage you to keep this in mind, especially as AI becomes more and more prevalent, but that is a conversation for another day. Okay, so another reason to pivot your business is if your products or services have become or are likely to become outdated. For example, think about Netflix and Blockbuster. When these companies started, Netflix literally delivered DVDs to your home, and you had to physically go to Blockbuster to rent movies. With the emergence of online streaming, Netflix pivoted its business model to make movies and TV shows available from an app. However, Blockbuster, on the other hand, kept its same business model, was forced to declare bankruptcy, and ultimately closed in 2014. There are a couple privately owned franchise locations left, but overall, the big corporate business has closed. So Netflix survived and even thrived because it adjusted to keep up with technology to better serve its customers. As a small business owner or leader, it's important to think like Netflix. In other words, if your products or services are becoming a thing of the past, guys, it's time to pivot. Okay, so another reason to pivot your small business is if you're experiencing cash flow problems. In other words, if you aren't bringing in enough money, you likely need to pivot. Now, sometimes cash flow issues can be a result of simply not charging enough. This is why it's important to know your business numbers so that you know exactly what you should be charging for each and every service or product. Cash flow issues can also be a result of poor marketing. If you listen to past episodes of Priority Pursuit, you know that we work with small businesses day in and day out, and that we regularly remind these businesses that having a great product or service and offering a great customer experience are only part of running a successful small business. Having an effective marketing strategy is also a necessity. This is something that I'm super passionate about and could talk about for hours, but to keep this episode short and sweet, if your marketing isn't currently working or if it could just be better, I want to encourage you to tune into episode 103, the best marketing strategy for small businesses, the flywheel marketing method, at the link in the show notes or wherever you listen to podcasts. So in this episode, Kelly and I break down the exact marketing strategy that we use at Treefrog to help small businesses see growth, some by more than 800%. Okay, so while cash flow issues can be a result of not charging enough and not marketing your business well, cash flow issues can also be a result of offering a product or service that just isn't in a high enough demand. Basically, to keep your doors open, you have to sell something that actually solves your ideal customer's problem. If your product or service doesn't do this and you aren't generating enough revenue to meet your goals, you need to pivot. On the flip side of this, another reason it's a good time to pivot, if you have one or maybe a few products or services that are performing drastically better than others. So for example, perhaps you create online courses on various subjects, but you realize that your course on a specific subject is by far your most profitable. If that's the case, it might be wise to shut your other courses down, focus on the most profitable course, either add to it or create other courses around the same topic, and adjust your marketing and business as a whole around that one particular subject. In this case, basically you'd want to niche down. After all, this is clearly what your customers want. Last but not least, another sign it might be time to pivot your small business is that you aren't seeing the results you want. Again, a lack of results could be a sign of poor marketing, but it could also be a sign that it's time to make a change. For example, perhaps you've hit a plateau. Maybe you're doing all you reasonably can, but you've peaked within your market, or perhaps you just don't enjoy your business anymore. You and your leadership team can control what your small business looks like. So don't forget that if you don't like it, you can change it.
Many small businesses don't have an effective marketing strategy, and because of this, they try one tactic after another without seeing results. This not only prevents consistent business growth, it makes managing marketing efforts more difficult than it should be. As a marketing agency for small businesses, we understand how frustrating it can be when hard work doesn't deliver the results that you want. Because of this, Treefrog has developed a proven 4-step marketing system that will help any small business grow. On our website, you can also schedule a 30-minute discovery call to discuss working with Treefrog to build a marketing strategy that will allow your small business to finally see the growth you've been working so hard to achieve.
Photographers, would you love to spend less time behind your computer and more time shooting with your loved ones or doing literally anything else than editing? If so, it's time to outsource your editing. Now, I know what you're going to say. I can't outsource my editing. An editor won't be able to match my style. But friend, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. I've been working with Photographers Edit for years, and their team of experienced editors match my editing style perfectly because 1, they took the time to get familiar with my preferences and brand. 2, they look at the sample edits I include in each Lightroom catalog. And 3, they allow me to submit feedback after every project, so the next time we work together, things are even better. Outsourcing my editing to Photographers Edit has drastically streamlined my workflow. I mean, after I shoot a wedding or a session, I simply cull the images and mark the photos I want to blog using Aftershoot. Then I create a Lightroom catalog, only edit the photos I plan to blog and share on social media. I add a green label to the photos I edit, share the catalog with Photographers Edit, and they use the photos I mark in green as samples to finish editing the remaining images. From there, Photographers Edit sends the catalog back to me within a few days. I review the images, export them, and share my clients' galleries with them. Outsourcing my editing has given me the freedom to spend more time with Zach and Hattie, go to bed at a reasonable time, better serve my clients, and work on projects I'm excited about, like this podcast. Right now, editing is likely taking up most of your time, but I can tell you from experience, doesn't have to. To receive 50% off your first order from Photographers Edit, go to treefrogmarketing.com/PE or simply use code VRayburn at checkout. Again, that's treefrogmarketing.com/PE or use code VRayburn at checkout. We just discussed 7 reasons to pivot your small business. Now let's dive into 6 different ways that you can pivot your small business. As a reminder, pivoting doesn't mean you throw out your entire business model and start from scratch. Instead, it means you make strategic adjustments. More often than not, pivoting is a slow but sure process. You likely won't be able to pivot everything tomorrow, as you may have contracts you need to fulfill or inventory you still need to sell, and you'll most definitely need to update your marketing strategy and materials for your pivot. But when you know where you want to go, you can start making adjustments to get there. The first and arguably easiest way to pivot your small business is to focus on what's working. Like we discussed before, if there are products or services that are performing better than others, focus on those. Or if there are products or services that aren't working, get rid of them. From there, you can create other offers around the effective products or services and free up your time and resources by getting rid of those that don't. For example, at Treefrog, we used to offer organic social media development as a standalone service. And at one point, this served our clients really well. It allowed small business owners to not have to worry about their social media. And, it was great. However, with the development of new platforms, reels, and social media just overall becoming more demanding, we just no longer had the capacity to serve small businesses well through our organic social media service at a price that most of our clients could afford. Like, we could still do it, but it was going to be very expensive because essentially we would have to have a member of our staff with these small businesses on a regular basis to get all the video and everything else needed to do this well. So as a result, and with the exception of a few of our agency partnership clients who are willing to make the investment, we no longer offer organic social media services, as it was one of our least profitable and most time-consuming services. While we know that this decision was disappointing to some, it has allowed us to better focus on services that better serve our clients, like our fractional CMO service. Now, you've likely heard the saying, the riches are in the niches. If you can niche down and only offer what's already proven to work for your small business, you can likely drastically lighten your workload, better serve your customers, and make more money. Another way to pivot your small business is to focus on what you and your team enjoy. Now, it's important to know your numbers, and it isn't a wise decision to focus on something that won't work just because you like it. So be sure to make this decision based on data. However, as your small business matures and you try different things, chances are you and your team are going to discover that you simply enjoy some offers more than others. For example, like I mentioned before, I thought my dream was to be a wedding photographer for all of my days. I realized that I actually enjoyed coaching other small businesses more. As a result, my plan to pivot my business was to fully focus on services within my business that I enjoyed. So coaching, educating, and consulting. If there is an aspect of your business that you and or your team really love and you know would be profitable, consider pivoting your business to focus on whatever that is. This kind of pivot might be exactly what you need to feel joy within your small business again. Another way to pivot your small business is to adjust your products or services to better meet your customers' needs. Wise small business leaders know that they need to be open to customer feedback so that they can make improvements to better solve their ideal customers' problems and adjust products and services accordingly. For example, if you're a SaaS company, is there a feature that needs to be added to better serve your users? If you're an electrician, could you include a warranty for your work? Or if you offer packages of any kind, is there something your customers really want that you could add to packages with a price increase to compensate for your costs for the record? Or if your packages are too big or robust for your best customers, are there features you could remove to better meet their needs and to save you both time and money to ultimately make your packages more profitable? This process is going to look a little different for every small business, but businesses that solve problems and are willing to make adjustments to better serve their customers are often the businesses that succeed, assuming they have a clear message, of course, but I promise to stay off our clear messaging and marketing guiding statements soapbox for this episode. We have all kinds of episodes about marketing guiding statements if you care to learn more, and I will be sure to include a link to those episodes in the show notes. Now, something else that you can do to pivot is simply to make your products and services more valuable by improving your client experience. Now, the number of people who visit malls drops more and more all the time. But I want you to imagine that you're in a mall looking for a new bag. In this particular mall, you have two options, Gucci and JCPenney. You can visit both stores and leave with a new bag. But as I'm sure you already know, one store is likely going to be drastically more expensive than the other. And while some of this is due to product quality, even more of it has to do with client experience. I mean, at JCPenney, you will likely walk to the bag section, go through the 2 or 3 disheveled aisles of bags that they have available, and won't ever once be asked if you need assistance. Then when you check out, your bag will be put in a plastic bag and you'll be on your way. When you go to Gucci, on the other hand, a salesperson is going to greet you at the door, ask what you're looking for, personally walk you through product options, and delicately package your purchase in a beautiful box, and then put that box in a beautiful bag surrounded with tissue paper. You'll also receive instructions for caring for your bag. Now, most small businesses start with a JCPenney mindset, meaning they need to meet needs and offer average customer service that gets the job done. However, a relatively easy way to pivot your small business is to improve your customer experience so that your products and services have more value. Like the other pivoting methods we've discussed, this is going to look different for every small business. So these examples are going to be a little all over the place, but perhaps you can make sure that you have a flawless onboarding process that includes a welcome gift for your clients. Maybe you could fill your waiting room with cucumber water and high-end snacks. Perhaps you could put systems in place to make sure your clients receive nothing but frequent, flawless communication from you and your team. Or perhaps you could add a little surprise for your customers they just don't see coming. For example, if you're a dog groomer, all of your pups might leave your salon with a seasonal bandana and a matching coordinating treat. I mean, if you know me, you know I love my dog and like, oh man, this would just tickle me so much. But basically, if you can systematize under promising and over delivering, which you can learn more about in episode 14, by the way, you can charge more. While creating a great client experience will take a lot of thought and planning, this can be a wonderful way to pivot your small business, charge more, and stand out from your competitors. Now, the next pivoting tactic I want to discuss often takes a lot of work because it requires adjusting much of your marketing, but it can be highly effective, and that is refocusing your target audience. As your business grows and the world changes, you might find that your products or services no longer serve your original ideal customers well, or that you need to niche down to a more specific audience. And if that's the case, it's time to refocus your target audience and adjust your products and services accordingly. This is actually something that we've had to do at Treefrog over the last year. You see, our team has a heart for serving small businesses through marketing. As a result, for years, we would do anything and everything, no matter how small or time consuming, to help small businesses grow. And as a result, we pretty much turned into task takers. While we certainly still have hearts for small businesses and will continue to offer resources like this podcast, courses, and other marketing tools for solopreneurs and tiny small businesses, and have a la carte service options that small businesses can choose from on a project by project basis, we have had to refocus our target audience for our main and most profitable service, our fractional CMO service. Small businesses can hire a team to serve as their chief marketing officer. We put together a strategy for the businesses, and from there, we oversee the implementation of the strategy, some of which includes us overseeing a business's in-house marketing team, and some of which includes our team actually producing and implementing the tactics ourselves for our clients. Now, this isn't a service that most solopreneurs or truly small businesses are ready for or can afford, and as a result, we've had to refocus our primary target audience to small businesses with revenues of $10 million or more. Again, this is not to say that we no longer serve the smallest of the small businesses or small businesses that are somewhere in between solopreneurs and businesses that bring in about $10 million a year, but to serve our clients to the best of our abilities, to bring in revenue that allows us to have lives and businesses that we love, and to operate within our zones of genius. This is a change that we have had to make. Last but not least, you can pivot your small business by making personnel and process changes. More often than not, small businesses start as one person or very tiny teams handling every aspect of a business. However, as your small business grows, you and your leadership team should ideally be able to spend less time on non-profitable tasks and more time on the areas of your business that actually generate money. If you want more information and inspiration about this, our leadership team is currently reading Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi. And the very beginning of this book gives a beautiful overview of what business owners and leaders should and should not be focusing on a day-to-day basis. If you haven't checked this book out, we highly recommend it, and we'll link to it in the show notes. But ensuring you have a team and systems that allow you to focus on the most important aspects of running your business, it's critical to your business's long-term success. This suggestion might not require pivoting your business offers, but it does require pivoting the way in which your business works internally. All right, guys, so as we wrap up this episode, I want to remind you that pivoting your small business doesn't mean throwing out all of your hard work and starting from scratch. To pivot successfully, you need to make small, strategic adjustments based on data, your customers' needs, and the life and business you want to have to yield the desired results. With this in mind, it likely isn't wise to pivot your small business overnight. After all, you may still have contracts you need to fulfill, and you do need to keep money coming in the door. Pivoting is typically a slow but intentional process that requires systems, offer, and marketing changes. Now, friend, maybe you're listening to this episode and you now feel like you know exactly where you want your business to go, or maybe you're listening and you know that something needs to change, but making change terrifies you. Either way, you and or your team work way too dang hard to have anything less than a life and business you love. So if what you're doing isn't working or isn't giving you the results you deserve, it's time to make a change. And on that note, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Priority Pursuit. If you enjoyed this episode, we hope you'll take a moment to share it with your small business friends, to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and that you'll join us next week for even more marketing, boundary, and priority-driven tactics you can use to build a life and small business that you love.